Hello. Oh, you're on mute.
Every meeting begins with that. Uh,
I'm gonna have, can you make me the host? And then I'll make you co-host?
yes, give
Perfect.
me 1 second. Um, well, you have to tell me which Pam Ehrenkrantz you are. Oh, I see which one
Oh,
you
mine
are.
should be
Okay, it's
co-host.
okay. I see
I
it.
apologize if I'm eating for a minute before
It's okay.
6:30 starts.
That's okay. I was actually going to turn my thing off. I actually have you. Are you recording?
I am not yet. Well, actually, it already says recording. You must be. I didn't press anything.
I can't tell. You have to change your name so I can figure out which one should. You're the co-host right now?
I'm the co-host. Oh
Oh,
no, sorry, I'm the host. That's weird. Um, but I don't have. Hold on one sec. No, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry, I got confused. I got confused for a second because I thought I was going to be on the bottom because you came in first. So I thought I would be the second. That's usually how it works, and it didn't. So I apologize.
okay. So
Sorry.
I'm gonna turn off everything, but here's what I want to run through.
Yep.
I'm not so worried about. I don't want to go through that whole sound thing with the background noise and
That's fine.
everything. Okay.
I don't have to do that.
I'm much more worried about the run of show.
Yeah, that's fine.
And since Michael doesn't know what the run of show is either, and Brianna's kind of in charge but wants me to be in charge, but I can't be
Okay.
in charge while she's in charge.
Yeah.
I thought, now you got this final thing, right? The final
Yes. The third
PowerPoint.
of
And
the
so you have the
slides. Yes, I got
video.
the.
You have
I
the
have the
video.
video, and then I have the other list of board of directors slate.
Great. Okay. So what I do know is this.
Hmm.
Um, what happens if you put the video up and share your screen but don't play it? What will I see?
Um, like you just want to. Are you saying you
If
just
you
want
tee
this?
it up but don't play it, what will I see?
You want me to show you right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then,
And
oh,
then also, I'm going to need to know who I should be letting in early. But here, hold
I'll
on one sec.
handle that. Don't worry.
Okay, okay.
Don't worry about that.
All right. So I am now sharing it. Do you just see a black screen?
Yes.
Is that what you want to see?
No.
What would you like to see?
Well, what happens if you click on the video for a minute?
Our story
Oh,
begins
yeah.
long
It's too
before
big.
any of
Okay.
us.
What's
Um,
the problem?
I don't have an opening slide, so we're not going to let people in till like 7:28.
Hmm.
I'm sorry, 6:58, and
Yeah.
then
Do you want them to just see something but not hear something? Is that what you're saying?
exactly.
I can make it so there's no sound. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, but what would they see? I don't want them
Here,
to
I'll
see
show you.
this.
Oh, you don't want them to see the video without sound?
No, I would want just a slide that says our story. Like,
Oh, where is I can keep it on that. Hold on one second. Is there a slide that just says
I
our
don't think
story?
so. I think it's the end. You have our logo, which you could put. Can you leave it on that?
Uh,
Just on that?
yeah, it could just stay on that. Do you want just that?
Just that.
All right, we can do that. And then,
I love Jake and his team. They can do
no
anything.
problem. Yeah, it's all possible. And then the other thing was, do you want, Jake told me to go over, do you want me to be doing the slideshow and someone else spotlighting, or do you want me
Okay,
spotlighting and someone else?
someone else is gonna spotlight.
Okay.
Her name is Claudia.
Okay.
She's an expert spotlighter.
All right. Perfect.
What I have to figure out when Brianna comes on
Okay.
is how you will know to advance a slide unless she says next slide. Like,
Mm.
if you look at the deck,
Mm-hmm.
do not admit that person. I mean,
Oh, I won't.
don't admit
I'm
them
gonna let
right
you admit
now.
everybody. I
Yeah,
won't
okay.
admit anyone. You do
Okay.
the admitting.
Um, she's not dangerous. I just,
Well, she's
she's
gone
prettier.
anyway.
Um,
Do you want people to be able to unmute themselves
yes,
that are not?
yes,
Okay.
I
Okay.
do. We'll keep everybody muted except for the people who are speaking.
Okay. So they're gonna mute upon entry, but they can unmute themselves, rename, and start their video. That all sounds good.
What do you and start the video? Yes.
Like they can stop and start their video.
Yes.
We want. Okay.
Yes.
And do you want them to be able to chat with everybody publicly?
Sure. Who
Okay.
cares?
All right, perfect. Sounds good to
Why
me.
don't you eat? I'm going to go make tea and then I'm going to come
All right,
back.
and I'm here. So
Okay, great.
yeah. I won't admit anyone in.
No, you could let Claudia or Brianna. Claudia, Brianna, and Michael.
Let me write that down. Okay.
Michael Delicat, Claudia Brenner, and Brianna Kelman.
Claudia Brenner, Michael Delicat.
Yep.
And what was the other one? Sorry.
Brianna Kelman.
Brianna
Where are you
Kelman.
located, Ethan?
Brooklyn.
Oh, how cool. Okay.
Your background disappeared, just to let you know.
You see, I don't want that. That's why I sign in as myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jake was like, make sure that you, okay. Did it say that you got signed out?
It did say that. And
All you
that
have to
means
do?
that, no, the whole thing just, I had this with Jake before.
I'm so sorry. He told me
This
that
is
before.
totally like my biggest problem in life.
Okay.
And it
I'm
won't let,
sorry.
I have to, I actually,
All you have to do is if you just go, if
no,
you just
you don't
sign.
understand.
Oh.
It takes me 5 years
I'm
to,
so sorry. I didn't mean to mess it up. That was what he had said
so
to
what
do
did you
before.
do exactly?
All I did was because when I signed on, it said I had been signed out even though I was here. So I then just while you were away, just hit sign in, and then it did that. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure that I apologize. That was what
Yeah,
he had told me to do.
I don't know how to, I don't know how
I
to
think
find
if you
it. No, hold on.
just hit sign in again, it should. There you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
And we're still recording. We're still fine.
Actually, I would like us to stop recording.
Okay.
I don't want to start recording until 7.
Yeah, UJA. Yeah, UJA. Go.
Hi, everybody. We're letting people in. Give us a couple of minutes. It's nice to see your faces. Here we go.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Christine.
How are you?
Thank you ahead of time.
Yeah. Am I at the beginning, middle, end?
You are number 13.
Really? Thank you. You couldn't just tell me I was 14. So it asked me for a passcode. Is that normal?
No, I, you know what? I usually set it up only with a waiting room, so I don't know where that passcode came from.
Okay.
But I may not have set up this link, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to uncheck the box for the passcode if you don't want it to generate.
So everyone has to put a passcode in who's coming?
No, if you use the actual link that, if you just click on the link that Karen sent, you don't need the password, but if
Okay,
you
good.
bring
I did,
numbers.
actually, and I did need a passcode. I clicked the
really?
link and it asked me for a passcode.
Well,
But then Claudia just sent me another email.
The email that I sent out today had the link, the passcode, and the ID and the passcode and the link. So either way, the email had everything that you needed, but sometimes it can be a bit more confusing.
Hey.
I wasn't aware there was a passcode. This is Karen.
I did not need the passcode.
Oh,
So
good.
that's interesting. Yeah. Some
Hi,
people
Rita.
did.
I
Okay, it is. What time is it? Oh, wait, we have someone who can't get in. Hang on one second. Okay, those passcodes are giving people a whole bunch of trouble. But 30 of you made it in despite that.
Pam, I don't see the waiting room. I see 30 participants.
Great.
There's no one.
Good.
There.
Now you should. Now you
Yeah.
should see someone there. Okay.
Okay.
Brianna.
Yeah.
We've got 2 more people who are coming in now. Do you want to start or you want to wait?
Let's wait 1 more minute.
Okay.
When you say 2 more people, there are 2 more people with the passcode or?
No, I just let them in.
Okay, so let's start. Michael, you think we should start?
Sure.
Ready, Ethan, we're ready for you.
Our story begins long before any of us.
Hello?
And our story will continue
Hold on a
long
second.
after all of us. Let's say, we can't begin to shape our story until we recognize that we are one people. Unless we tear down our dividers and look beyond how we vote, how we love, how much we know, or how much we still have to learn. We are not independent of one another. We are interdependent. We need each other. Together, we transform the lives of so many people. Across town, across oceans, across generations, we transform the lives of people we may not ever meet. People who may not ever know that we exist. This is our story. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zevizeh, we are all one people, responsible for one another. Ours is the story of so many. It's the story of our sister who lost everything in the unspeakable. It's the story of our brothers who woke up one morning to a new reality. It's the story of all those who feel alone. We are your home. For all those who don't feel safe. For all those who feel they have nowhere to go. For the ones who never thought it would come to this. Their story is our story. We are there. So what will we write from here? That we showed up or that we changed the world? That we sat by the side of the road or that we moved mountains? Will it say that we accepted reality or that we reimagined it? It's up to us. Let's write our story.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2021 annual meeting of the UJA-JCC, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Michael Delicat. I am the co-president of UJA-JCC, and my co-president, Brianna Kalman, and I will be hosting our meeting tonight. We've pledged to keep it to under 1 hour. We have a lot to talk about, but we're going to do our best to honor that pledge. A lot has happened in the past year since we met at Temple Shalom for our last annual meeting in January of 2020 and laid out our plans for collaboration and for a vibrant year of activity. By March of that year, the world was turned on its head with the pandemic that we are just coming out of, and things changed dramatically. Despite that, this organization, UJA-JCC, continued on and performed with incredible success. I want to thank our entire board of directors, all of the officers and committee members that served over this past year in helping us achieve what we were able to achieve. And most importantly, I want to thank our staff for showing their incredible and dedication, keeping us not just running as an organization, doing the things we do every year, but becoming a critical support element for the Greenwich Jewish community during the pandemic. On that staff, Pam Ehrenkrantz, our CEO, Randy Singer, our PJ Library and Engagement Director, Karen Ross, our Office Manager, Claudia Brenner, our Women's Philanthropy and Events Director, Laura Blum, our Program Director, Corey Sanoguera, our Teen Action Committee Coordinator. If you don't know them, please make it your business to get to meet them and greet them this year. They were working many times 24/7, many times in the office during this past year, and for that, we thank them. The first order of business that we have every year at our annual meeting is the election of the board of directors for the upcoming year. And you see on the screen in front of you the list of that particular slate. It's been there for a while, so there is no reason for me to read the names. I again want to thank everyone that served last year. Almost everyone is continuing forward, and thanking in advance those that have agreed to be on the slate for this year. And we will now turn to an election of the directors. It's a little challenging in the virtual environment of Zoom, but I'm going to first call for all in favor and just ask you all to raise your hands. Then I will call for those against, and I would call for abstentions. Only if you are voting against the slate or if you are abstaining, if you can use the chat function on your at the bottom of your screen to register that, because it's a little difficult to see hands and follow everyone through two screens here. So this is the 2021 slate for the board of directors. All in favor?
Can you hang on one second? We're going to get rid of the slate so we can actually see the hands, okay, in the gallery view.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do it again. Or you know, for those of you that know how to use the reaction feature in the bottom right, you can stick your hand up also, you can raise your hand. So all in favor of the slate? Okay. All opposed, if any are opposed, please use the chat function to make sure we capture that. And for any abstentions, please also use the chat function so we can register that. I'm going to wait a minute to give everyone a chance. Not seeing any negatives or abstentions, it would appear that the slate is approved by unanimous vote of all of those attending the meeting tonight. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to all of the directors that have agreed to serve in the coming year. One thing I did want to mention before I turn the program over to Brianna is just to talk a little bit about security. Unfortunately, we're at a moment in time when we need to do everything we can to make our Jewish community here in Greenwich as secure as possible. And we are very focused this year on taking all steps we can do to enhance that security for the entire Jewish community and all of the organizations that are Jewish organizations that are a part of this community. So far, we've been working with the Greenwich Police Department to assess our building, and we are very close to collaborating with a number of other Connecticut state federations on hiring a regional security advisor, which will be here not only to help UJA-JCC, but to help us coordinate security amongst all of the Jewish organizations in Greenwich, knowing that many of them already have their own security program, we know there will be greater strength through collaboration on an issue like this. We're also going to be participating in cybersecurity training at UJA-JCC in the coming weeks. So that's really at the top of our list before we can do all of the important things we've done and that we're going to commit to this year. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Brianna.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I want to thank Michael for his leadership and partnership this year. He's been a really valuable partner in a challenging time, so thank you. And I just want to give a shout out to Ella Wheel, who's helped with this PowerPoint presentation. So our first, Ethan, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so these are the 4 things that Michael and I would like you to come away with tonight. Our story is incredible. I'm sorry, some people missed our slide, our video, which was really powerful. So maybe we'll show it again at the end if you want to hang out. We are creating the future while sustaining the foundation of Jewish Greenwich, what we achieved and how we can improve, and a call to action. So those are 4 things this evening. Our story is incredible. We're going to start with Jane Batkin. So Ethan, you can go to the Jane, there she is. And Jane can be highlighted. Jane, are you here? Jane, yay. So you have to unmute. Okay. Jane, thank you so much for being a participant tonight. If everyone can read the quote, it says, "What sings to people is what is important." Jane has been a beautiful voice in our community for many, many years. And these comments came from our recent board retreat. Jane, my question for you tonight is, how do you use your leadership at UJA-JCC to positively impact our community?
Well, one way I try is to encourage collaboration within the community so more people will know what being Jewish is all about, and that we have a way of knowing what other segments of our community is like. I want to talk really quickly, but one thing that Pam doesn't know I was going to mention tonight is that I nominated her for the YWCA Women Who Inspire Award. And of course, unsurprisingly, she was one of the winners. And it gave Pam and UJA Greenwich an opportunity to hear some of the philanthropic things that we do, not only in our community, but around the world. And she was a great representative. Another thing that we are putting together is a civil rights trip down south. We've had to change the dates several times because of COVID. And we're hoping for early fall that it will be safe, and it will be with senior leadership and donors. Be a small trip with the same from the YWCA. Their board is really very different than our board. I sit on both. And to have them travel to Selma, Alabama together, to Atlanta, to pray at the church that Martin Luther King was at, to walk over the Edwin Pettus Bridge, to have Shabbat dinner, to hear the story of Leo Frank. I think it will have and Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, I think that it will introduce all of us and make us closer to different segments. And if this small trip is as successful as I think it will be, we can open it up to a larger group and keep it going. So I hope that's a positive impact.
Jane, thank you so much. And I want to be the first one to sign up for that civil rights journey. And this segues us perfectly into Lois and Cal. Can we get to the next slide and bring Lois on? Hi, Lois. Lois, first of all, thank you so much for the programming that you and Pam have created. And it segues perfectly from a civil rights journey. The Many Faces of Anti-Semitism, Confronting the Longest Hatred is the name of this amazing program that you and Pam have created. How did you come to sponsor this major anti-Semitism program?
Well, I grew up on the west side of Manhattan where there was really no anti-Semitism. It was never a threat to me. Everybody was Jewish. But of course, I was aware of the Holocaust and had met relatives that went to Israel. But however, the last years, I grew up in a very easy atmosphere. But the last years, we have been made very aware of anti-Semitism throughout the world. When we traveled, there has been heavy security at religious institutions. And we have had areas where we were told that we could not go, we should not go because it was dangerous. In this country, lately, we have frequently read of anti-Semitic incidents that have occurred in this country. For example, attacks on synagogues and speeches and marches on college campuses. The last few years, feelings of hatred have surfaced, and Bruce and I, and they were formerly really suppressed, but the last few years they have really surfaced. And Bruce and I felt we wanted to do something to heighten community awareness of this problem. Because of the pandemic, we have spent this year in Connecticut and thought we could do something here. We have always been supporters of UJA Federation, UJA-JCC. So I asked my friend Pat Brescher what she thought of the chapter in Connecticut. She gave a thumbs up and had Pam call me. Pam and I met and I told her what we had in mind and that Bruce and I wanted to fund an initiative on anti-Semitism. Pam ran with the idea and quickly came with an outline for us to consider. We were enthusiastic with the plan she presented, and thus our program began to take shape. We are very pleased with what has transpired to date. So thank you, Pam and her staff, and and all of you who made this happen.
Lois, thank you so much. It's really the most incredible programming, and I urge everybody to watch the next ones that are coming together.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Really, it's fantastic. Our next slide is Sally Mann. Sally, you're muted, so you can unmute.
Good.
Oh, Sally, so you've been on the board for only a short time, and you recently questioned how your passion aligns with what the UJA-JCC does. A question that was so heartfelt because you were so earnest, like, where do I fit in, was what your question was. Lucky for our Jewish community, you found a lot to resonate. Can you share and talk about that with us?
Well, first I should say, like, I'm in awe of the breadth and the depth of the organization's facility, what they facilitate each day, each week, each month, each year. And yet I was still the newbie and thinking, how do I immerse myself with this board that is so filled with talent and wisdom? And after the retreat, Brianna and Pam generously spared some of their very lacking minutes because they're so busy, and talked to me. And you know, at the beginning of the conversation, I just had to say what I feel like has driven me and made me, since I was very young, I was very passionate about generating tolerance and acceptance in the world and in our community, and you know, just whenever I could and where I could. And I wasn't sure how that would fit in and align with what the Federation is doing and with UJA-JCC. But of course, the minute those words came out of my mouth, and before I could even express the doubt of the alignment, Pam and Brianna were off to the races. It was almost like I was listening to an audio game of ping pong of their voices going back and forth, telling me all these great programs. So, you know, whether it's something like the Zinkels, which I thank you because I have been participating, wonderful many faces of anti-Semitism, or if it's helping Brianna with this new portal that you're trying to develop for the schools to help teach tolerance, or as Pam and I have been talking a lot about, partnering with different facilities around our local community, the YW ADL and other possibilities. I now know that there's plenty of avenues and places, and there was a lot of food for thought on that conversation and incredible possibilities for me to connect, which is important to me through the board to our community. So I'm very grateful for y'all's time, and I'm grateful and excited about what's ahead.
Well, thank you, Sal. I just want you to know I'm wearing a turtleneck because you looked so good when you were the moderator for that Gift of Our Wounds, which we sponsored with the ADL, and it was a program with a victim and a skinhead, who turned a white supremacist, and you were amazing on that. So thank you so much.
It was amazing to listen to them. It was very powerful.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great program. Okay, so our next passion speaker is Margie Black. Hi, Margie. Oh, you're muted also.
Hello.
Hi, Steve. I see you. Margie and Steve are both board members, as was Sally. Margie, first of all, thank you so much for taking on this role of Dignity Grows. So the question I have is, tell us about the program of Dignity Grows and why you felt it was important that the UJA participate in this, and why did you get involved?
Well, Dignity Grows, which I hope everyone has heard about by now, was started by the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford in 2018, and there are now 16 chapters nationwide, and we were the second chapter to come on, and it addresses period poverty, and it does that by distributing hygiene totes that contain menstrual products along with toiletries. And at this point, we've done 4 distributions, and we have distributed over 200 bags of these totes, most of them locally here in Westchester County. We have partner agencies who help us by identifying the people who need these totes. So we prepare the totes, the agency then picks those up, and they distribute them to their clients. We have distributed to Neighbor in Greenwich, to JFS here in Greenwich, through the Kosher Food Pantry in Stamford, to name a few, and then most recently through Met Council in New York City. And I think that my passion for the program came from my work, which I've been a weekly volunteer at Neighbor Food Pantry for over 15 years now. And I see the struggle that people have every week just to get enough food to feed their families. And things such as toiletries and particularly menstrual supplies are not covered by any of these programs. And although my interest was before COVID, it grew after COVID because the need grows for all these things and the resources are being stretched thinner and thinner. So I feel like the timing was really great. We are hoping to continue to make these distributions on a quarterly basis.
Margie, thank you. And I'll just add that what it's done is it allows a group of people to collaborate and be together in sharing this opportunity. So thank you. It's been incredible. It's been in the news. It's a national organization now, and we are so lucky to be part of it with Margie's leadership because it wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next one is Bonnie Citron. Hi, Bonnie. Okay, Bonnie, you and I, do you want me to?
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. Okay. So Bonnie, you and I have had several visionary calls on the Carmel campus and what it could be. And Jane Batkin's quote speaks to me about you. What sings to people is what is important. And you felt passionate that the campus remain in the hands of the Jewish community. Why?
Well, this project personally means a lot to my family. When my husband Manny and I first moved to Greenwich, we had a 6-month-old and we instantly found a home within Chabad, UJA, and the greater Greenwich Jewish community. All 4 of our children went to Chabad preschool and Camp Gan and continued their education at Carmel Academy. We strongly believe that much of their confidence, integrity, spirituality, and love of learning were imbued by their Jewish education at Chabad and Carmel. So when Carmel made the extremely difficult decision to close its doors, we knew that we as a community had to find a way to keep the extraordinary campus Jewish. Acquiring this campus is a dream come true, and we are so optimistic about what we all can build here together. As leaders, we are committing to a beautiful future. We have this amazing opportunity to build a legacy that will be a meaningful part of our lives, our children's lives, and for the entire Greenwich community for generations to come.
Bonnie, thank you. That was well said. I don't want to spend more time on it because we could talk about it a lot, but it does have the capacity and vision and excitement to be a hub for other Jewish organizations to utilize, as well as other nonprofits. So anyone who wants to learn more about it, Bonnie, you can always call Bonnie. Okay, I'm moving now to Andy Fern. Oh, sorry. No, Rebecca Cooper. Perfect. Yep. Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. You're muted. Okay, Rebecca, first of all, congratulations as our newest member of our board, and to Joey Hessel out there as well. So thank you both. Okay, Rebecca, you've had several leadership roles, one of which was PJ Library. And of course, you could see this photo is of your children. I think they're a little older now, or is this their age? Aren't this their ages?
It's recent.
Okay. So you're involved in so many things, and your passion and conviction for Jewish Greenwich community is resolute. And we only have 90 seconds. Everyone's going almost like, 120 seconds. So we'll give you a little leeway. What would you tell a young family thinking of moving here about why Jewish Greenwich is such a great place for a family to live?
Well, I have to start, of course, with PJ Library because that's where it resonates for me right now. PJ Library had to answer the call that the pandemic brought to us, and we were in an extremely unique position to answer that call. We are excited to share that PJ Library has expanded exponentially more than ever. To date, we've had 71 new subscriptions in the last 11 months. That is unprecedented. So to that end, we've had sold out events in September. In October, we've had Picking for the Pantry. We've had Tailgating, which was a story time in the park that sold out in 2 days. We've had over 20 Zoom story times. We have 3 community programs with the Jewish preschools. Recently, we had a Purim community event led by the 3 preschool directors that had 50 families on the Zoom call. We are currently creating 2 Passover events, as well as a food drive for the kosher pantry. And most especially, we created something called the PJ Pails program, which is a subscription of 4 pails, which coincides with various holidays throughout the year. And uniquely to the UJA-JCC and to the philanthropy that drives PJ Library, when families purchase a pail through the generous donation of Beth Cutler, a pail is delivered to a child in need. So the overarching goal is to keep the community engaged during this time, as well as creating a fundraising platform to remind our community that PJ Library is more than just a book subscription. We go out of our way to make sure there's ample opportunities for programming and to get those involved, especially the new families, engaged as well. And I'm happy to announce that we have restructured the leadership program of PJ Library to include 2 to 3 vice presidents coming and helping out in a more leadership capacity. And all 3 of these women are brand new to Greenwich. Wow. So that should just speak to the enthusiasm, the talent, and the budding leadership that is out there. And I'm so pleased to say we also answered the call with the Golden Ticket Series. I was asked to speak about that very quickly.
Yes, please do.
The Golden Ticket Series started several years ago, the format of which is to discuss through an expert historian, whether it be Professor C. Whitfield at Brandeis or Jack Viertel, Senior Executive Producer at Jujemson Theaters, the history behind the Jewish composers. And then those composers are sung by a quartet of singers and an orchestra. We have had every event sold out, and we're looking forward to doing several in the latter part of this year. So please look out for those emails.
Okay, so Rebecca, I'm going to do a plug for my leadership fund. Rebecca does this amazing music program. The PJ Library speaks for itself. This music ensemble with her singing and the background. I mean, it's just incredible. But there was a little short of payment or income or whatever. And our leadership fund was able to step in and just make the program happen seamlessly, effortlessly, nimbly. So we do have a leadership program, which anyone who's interested in knowing more about, please call me, because I'd love to talk about our leadership.
I would be remiss just to say I could never do any of this without my partner in crime, Randy Singer, who, even though is new to the role, is just, we barely spend a day without communicating. So I feel very fortunate to be by her side in this very unique time.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for all you do, because you do a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so next one is Andy Fern. Okay, Andy's, you're muted. You're muted.
Okay, there we go.
Hi, Andy.
I too have to mention something about Rebecca. Rebecca, whenever I see your production coming, I immediately mark it on my calendar and buy my ticket. It's like Broadway comes to Greenwich. It's phenomenal. If anyone hasn't made it there yet, get there. It is well worth it. Okay.
Yes, the Zooms have even been great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Andy is our past Women's Philanthropy president. And I want to just few things before the question. First of all, you brought an incredible thoughtfulness to every action and to every action you did. And you did a lot of actions because you did a lot of stuff. And you brought a lot of energy and people on board. But a particularly meaningful one to me was the grace in which you brought back the Lion of Judah, which I don't know, you have yours on, I have mine on. Brought back the Lion of Judah and the meaning of what it meant to women's philanthropy. So I really want to thank you so much for that. Okay, so you're no longer Women's Philanthropy President, but you're quite active still and busy. And we're going to talk about missions. So I know Japan was fully sold out for 2020, but that trip did not take off. And you have an Israel 2022 planned. And why are you passionate about Jewish adventures and missions?
Well, personally, I love to travel. I just enjoy it. It's one of my personal passions. But I have to tell you that whenever I do travel, I always try to hit the Jewish sites. It sort of brings the experience home for me. My first mission with UJA-JCC Greenwich was to Morocco. And I never understood. I had actually heard you, Brianna, speaking about how fabulous missions were. And I had wanted to do it. I was waiting for my kids to get a little older. It was easier for me to leave the house and so on. And I never realized exactly what an addition it is to travel in a mission, as you know, as opposed to traveling with your family. So it's aside from getting to meet people from all aspects of Jewish Greenwich and multi-generational people you wouldn't know otherwise, you have this commonality of Jewish identity and Jewish interest, and it just makes, and as a group, you get to go through the experience together. It makes it a little bit more special than actually just doing it personally. Also, there's the Pam factor. And those of you who have done missions know what I'm talking about when I say the Pam factor. But traveling on a mission with UJA-JCC Greenwich, you don't know what's around the next corner. The itinerary is printed, but there are so many surprises that happen from day to day that you would not be able to do had you not been on this mission. For example, you may be having lunch with dignitaries. In Morocco, we had lunch with the king of Morocco's right-hand man, who happens to be Jewish. And we learned all about what it means to be a Jew in Morocco. We also got to travel to parts of Morocco that wouldn't be accessible. We had certain special security with us, and we were able to gain access to special parts of Morocco. And the sites that we saw, I mean, I could tell you story after story about things that happened.
I can't let you because we're at the 2-minute mark.
All right, I'm moving on. But let me just leave it at the Pam factor. So that alone makes it worth traveling. Also, tickets to exhibits that you may not be able to get. I mean, how this all happens, I don't know. But
Okay, let's all meet in 2022 in Israel on a UJA-JCC mission.
Oh, you took my line. That was my last line. Honestly, what I can tell you is we're already getting the itinerary together for the Israel trip in 2022, and it's going to be amazing. And it will have little bits and pieces, not only from interesting things that you wouldn't be able to do that Pam can get us access to,
Okay.
but
I
fun
have
things.
to cut you off, Andy. I know the passion for missions.
But fun things, and join us and come along, join the crew, join the Jamboree. It'll be great.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that and everything else you've done for our organization and still do. Okay, so now we're moving across the ocean to where we also have responsibilities to Jewish community. And we have Ellie Sheva, myself from the JDC staff. And Ellis, thank you so much for joining us. I know we had a conversation on the phone a couple of months ago. So this is my question for you. As you can imagine, we take great pride in the funds we allocate to support Jewish community, whether it's around the corner or across the ocean. This year, we took a special focus on Holocaust survivors when Jane Weitzman reminded us we are the last generation with the privilege of caring for them. Can you tell us a little bit about the programs that UJA-JCC supports through the JDC that specifically help victims and survivors of the Holocaust?
Of course. Thank you, Brianna, and thank you everybody for having me. It's really wonderful just to get a glimpse of the incredible story that that Greenwich is telling even tonight. I'm really very inspired, so thank you for having me. I'm going to jump right in it so I can stick to my 2 minutes. So for those of you who are not yet familiar with JDC, JDC is the largest humanitarian aid organization. We're the largest Jewish humanitarian aid organization. We work in 70 countries around the world as the Global Jewish 911, which means that even before COVID hit, we were working with some of the most vulnerable populations and the most vulnerable Jews in the world. Of that, of course, is always the elderly population that became that little bit more vulnerable when COVID hit just about a year ago. With your help, and with Greenwich's help, we continue to ensure that anyone who was elderly and particularly homebound continued to receive the services that they so desperately needed. So I want to talk a little bit about our work in Israel and a little bit about our work in the former Soviet Union, just to give you a sense of what we're talking about. So in Israel, there are about 180,000 Holocaust survivors, of whom about 6,000 are homebound. And those 6,000 receive in-home professional services, mostly therapeutic, some recreational services inside of their homes. Of course, that became that little bit more dangerous this year when going into people's homes became really, really complicated. In close partnership with the government of Israel, with whom JDC works very, very closely, we created certainly some of the programs that were able to go online, went online, and training around for elderly people and Holocaust survivors to learn technology was provided. But we also continued to ensure that home care services could continue. And that became even more important because, as everyone on this call knows, for those homebound Holocaust survivors, the in-home care we were providing was sometimes the only person who was allowed inside this Holocaust survivor's home. It was their only contact into the outside world. So the support not just became about physical health, but it also became about mental health this year. And I want to jump to the former Soviet Union, where there are about 80,000 elderly people living in abject poverty, elderly Jews living in abject poverty. Of these 80,000, about half are Holocaust survivors, many of whom, because of their age and various illnesses, too are homebound. This elderly population rely on JDC and on Greenwich and on the work that we do to provide basic humanitarian aid. I'm talking food, medicine, home care, winter relief, really basic human services. And again, what happens to the homebound Holocaust survivors amongst them who can't go to the JCCs to pick up their food packages because of the pandemic or because they are homebound? So once again, JDC continued to ensure that the most vulnerable, the Holocaust survivors who are living in abject poverty, continued to receive this vital humanitarian aid, whether it meant that every single home care worker and Holocaust survivor was issued with PPE and new training around what could and could not happen. You know, we obviously said to our home care workers, you cannot go on public transport anymore because it's not safe.
Ellie Sheva, thank you.
Okay, thank you,
So
everybody.
there's so many of us that have pom-poms for the JGC, and we love the work you do, and we're so thankful to be a part of it. And I don't want to cut you short, but we promise to keep it.
Of course, of course. Thank you for having us, and thank you for everything you're doing for these Holocaust survivors.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're gonna go to Walter. Walter, you're next.
Hi, Brianna, can you hear me?
Yes, but we need the slide from Ethan. No, that's not
Nope.
Walter.
No, we're trying to find it because he's got to
Okay,
go
well, we're
out
good.
of order. So that one, what, you had it? It was the
Elisheva.
JFAC. Nope. Okay.
There's Walter. There's
All right.
Walter.
I'm talking about
Wait, Walter,
JFAC.
can we get your face instead of Elisheva's?
I'm sorry.
That's not you. I don't think you can do it. Someone else has to.
No.
I'd like to see Walter.
I'm on video. I can see myself.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay, Walter. Okay. Wait,
I'm
Walter,
talking-
can I ask you the question before you
Sure.
go?
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, you've guided us over an unknown landscape over COVID and our philanthropy survival. So a huge thank you to Andy Fern, to Michael, to Pam, to Marty for all hands on deck, you know, in those beginning months when we really didn't know what was going on, and to Nancy Zisson as well. So, okay, so my question for you, Marty, and Walter is, anyone who knows me knows how much I love collaboration. And our UJA-JCC funds and is very involved with JFACT, the Jewish Federation Association of Connecticut. Walter, you sit on the board. Can you tell us one or two things that they've achieved that really resonates for you? And on a day-to-day basis, why it's so critical for our community?
Yeah, this is a really critical organization at this point. When I first got active in this on behalf of UJA Greenwich, there were questions about if this was a good place to be putting our funding at all. And there was time to get a new executive director. The previous one had retired. I was very involved in the search, and we got a really terrific person, Michael Bloom, who had been a staff aide in the legislature. And under his leadership and with the board and with the other people, just been a whole bunch of programs. First, Michael is very well liked by everybody in Hartford, which is very important. And he has really mobilized a lot of legislators and outside organizations. He was JFACT was very responsible for getting the $5 million for houses of worship and other threatened nonprofits that came through the legislature. Delivered several $1,000s of state money to Jewish Family Services of Greenwich. Lobbied Congress for additional dollars for the nonprofit security program. Was very involved in getting the Holocaust education passed. We now have that requirement. And part of that happened, we talked about an interfaith trip. JFACT organized a interfaith trip with leaders of the Black communities in Hartford and around, and went to Selma, Birmingham, and Montgomery, and visited several of the civil rights sites, the museums, some of the synagogues, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and that built tremendous goodwill, which helped the Holocaust bill sail through the legislature unanimously. Wasn't a single negative vote on that bill for a Holocaust education. There have been several Zoom calls with state and local officials recently, and recently with all 7 members of the Connecticut's congressional delegation about Congress dealing with hate. And this year, JFACT is trying to get a postponed trip back in sync and take Governor Lamont to Israel on a business mission. And right now, JFACT is very involved in helping at the first stages of forming a Connecticut-Israel Chamber of Commerce with JFACT. So those are just some of the things.
Walter, thank you so much for highlighting the work that JFACT does and how important it is to our community. I hope people absorb some of what you said, because there's so much information there and it's super important, and we're a part of it. And it's from our donors that we're able to do that. So thank you, thank you. And I don't want to cut you short, but we've got to keep going.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Walter. Okay, so now we're going to go to Marty. There's Marty Flashner. Thank you, Marty. Okay, so what I was supposed to say, let me see. Okay, so
I'm not
Marty,
in this picture, just so if anybody's looking for me.
so Marty, first of all, you are ever present in our Jewish community, and I thank you as well as the other people I mentioned for your guidance during the early months of COVID when we really were facing day-to-day challenges. So thank you. I think the photos speak for themselves, but this little girl opening a computer is from possibly from donations from our community. We were able to nimbly and quickly get money to Afula, so children had computers during COVID. Okay, so I know firsthand how passionate and dedicated you are to Israel and the UJA. How do the two interconnect for you? Oh, wrong slide there, but that's okay.
That's okay. Look, we have a religious obligation from the Torah to help our family in Israel. And I'm proud of the efforts that we make in fulfilling that religious obligation. You know, COVID has hurt Israel as much as any other country. They've done a remarkable job getting their people vaccinated, the best in the world, but they've also had probably more lockdowns than most countries as well. And the people in Israel are getting crushed. They don't have the same degree of a safety net like in the United States, where, you know, periodically Congress authorizes sending checks to everybody. And so we've done things about providing hot meals to children and food packages to people in our sister city in Afula. A significant piece of equipment for a surgical suite in Ha'emek Hospital to prevent viral transmission, so surgeries can be done and without either the patient or the medical personnel being at risk of getting COVID. And you can see, I think that laptop picture is great. Even with all of this, Israel is still taking in immigrants. It's the ingathering of the exiles, which is described in the Bible, which is forecast in the Bible, is still very much in play in Israel. And you may have seen this in the Israeli press. Quite a number of immigrants from Ethiopia have come even during COVID. And so we've provided laptops for children, as you can see in the picture here, also at absorption centers, and the same thing as really just the most recent things that we're doing to help the Ethiopian immigrant community. The worry is that they not become a permanent underclass in Israel. So the amount of effort that we're providing, as well as through this and through the organizations that we fund, like JDC, Elisheva, is helping to do that. So that's our.
Marty, thank you
want
very
to tell.
much. You do so many other things as well, and I'm sorry to keep these so short. We are
No, understood.
But thank you, and thank you again for all you do for UJA. You are a staunch supporter, and we are going from our unwavering supporter Marty to one of our newest supporters, which is Rachel Rubin. So let's see if we can get Rachel on there. That's Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Thank you so much for being here for us. So my question to you is, oh, there you are. Okay. Oh, wait, let me just get you here. So my question for you is, there has been a lot of talk in our town about how many people have recently moved to Greenwich this past year. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
My husband and I have been so thrilled that we moved to Greenwich. From when we came here, UJ reached out to us. We got this beautiful welcome package dropped off at our door. I think for the first 6 weeks we were here, every week someone new would call me or email me I got asked for coffees. I went for coffees outside and met lots of new women and new families. And it was just such a fabulous way to welcome us into a community. Actually, right here, who's 7 months, gets these fantastic books each month that we love reading to him. And last week, we actually participated in a margarita mixer for new families, which was tons of fun. It was so well organized. Thank you, Claudia, for everything you did. We got to kind of speed date and meet everyone and really get to know people in a COVID way that was just super special. So we've just had such an incredible experience here with UJA, and, you know, hearing all the wonderful things tonight that UJA does that we're not even yet aware of is, you know, just makes us really excited that we chose this community and to be here.
Rachel, thank you so much. And I know we'll be hearing more of you, and I look forward to meeting you in person. I did see an image of that Zoom margarita mix, and it looked super fun. I wish I was there. Okay, so we are going now to Christine Toback. Christine, sorry you were last and you had to wait this out, sweat out your conversation. Okay, so Christine, when I thought of your slide, all of these words came up, and it's your dedication and your insistence that we take responsibility for our actions. And these words all have a Jewish in front of it: Jewish leadership, Jewish engagement, Jewish identity, Jewish giving, Jewish education, Jewish community, philanthropy, Jewish responsibility. So we've heard a lot about why, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong question. We've heard a lot why people engage with UJA-JCC. You are Women's Philanthropy President. Tell us what drives you, and if you have time to share some about the portal you and I are developing.
Okay. Hi, everyone. What drives me? Seeking a broader, stronger Jewish community for my family is my greatest drive. I want to see the Jewish community in Greenwich stronger and more interconnected, both within UJA and with other local Jewish organizations and abroad. Welcoming new residents, re-engaging current residents. I just want to see more participation at all levels and increase and hope to create a multi-generational, multi-organizational framework within our community. So people feel connected Jewishly as they move through each stage of their life in Greenwich and not move to Florida. And my goal as Women's Philanthropy President is to ensure that we're there to support the local Jewish community as we emerge from COVID stronger together. And the portal, you want to talk? Should we talk?
Yes, please mention the portal.
It's still a working idea. We're hoping to provide the public and private schools of Greenwich and eventually organizations with free and accurate information about Israel, the Holocaust and anti-Semitism from websites like Classrooms Without Borders and others. We're building a team of really amazing community members who are going to become access points to each of the local schools and sustain these important relationships and encourage the use of the information within their own curriculum. And many of these schools are unaware that this information exists and it's free and accurate. The parent community school relationship is going to be so important, and we're going to rely on this team so much. It's also a way to build on the inclusivity and diversity movement. And if you would like to know more about it, we would love to have your help. The first meeting is going to be on Monday, March 8th at 12 o'clock. And we definitely—
Rebecca, Christine, thank you so much for your leadership. And I love working with you. It's been really a pleasure. And I look forward to all those times ahead of us. Okay, guys, that was 13 speakers. Okay, we didn't do it in as short a time as I had hoped, but we got a lot done. And I can't see everybody, but I hope everybody thought that was valuable time and energy. We're going to go to the next slide, Ethan. Is data. Okay, so data. I'm not going to dwell on this a lot, but in 2020, Michael and I decided that data should be one of our main goals, and we had some recommendations from our board members and our donors wanting to know more information about data. So these 3 points: identity, impact, analyze engagement, meet needs in community. We're working on it. We have people working on it. We have more information hopefully next time we're together. But one that I think is really interesting is website visits. In the first 2 months of 2020, we had 2,100 website visits. In the first 2 months of 2021, we've had over 4,500 website visits. So I'm not going to spend more time on data. If there's a data expert out there that wants to join us, besides the ones we already have, which is Adam Leader and Steve Black, please reach out to us. Okay, the next slide. Okay, quickly on Jewish Federations of North America. The federation system is over 140 UJAs. And I think we're really short on time, but I just want to point out one thing here. JFNA is dedicated to bringing a Jewish voice and advocacy to the LGBTQ and disability communities and incorporate diversity, inclusion, and equity into all that we do. They've done so much for us this year during COVID. They've done so much during lay leadership and professional development. The list is too long to go on tonight. We can go to the next slide. Slide 16. Okay, the 3 points that were part of our original goals, Michael and I's, were leadership, collaboration, and data. And we're adding education for this year. Time is lacking, so I'm not going to go into the collaboration and leadership, but we have been very successful with leadership, and we've made a lot of headway in collaboration. Our Jewish organizations speak to each other. The lay leaders speak to each other. We've collaborated in a lot of stuff, the Jewish community as well as the other nonprofit community. So I'm really proud of the work that we've done in collaboration. Education, we just heard a little bit about the portal. Lois's program on anti-Semitism through the arts has been incredible. We're going to do another program on BDS, why BDS is not good for anybody. I'd love to talk to anyone about the portal, which is an incredible thing, which Christine spoke about. Okay, let's go to slide 17, which is my last one. Okay, our story. I hope tonight gave everybody here a sentiment of what our story is. And the work that the UJA-JCC does resonates in my soul. And I hope that you too feel a flush of pride after all of the stories. It's because of you that we are reaching the next generations and engaging our community in meaningful ways and doing good here and around the world. Michael and I's call to action tonight is call us. Call Pam, call Michael, call me, call Christine. And let us help you answer Sally's question. How does your passion align with what the UJA-JCC does? What sings to you? Continue to give, please, so we can continue to grow and we can make meaningful connections with the next generation. And please continue to participate, donate, or sponsor a program like Louise and her husband. And most importantly, be proud, be proud, be proud, and even boisterous of the work that we do. Thank you so much for your time and your hearts tonight. I know, Pam, I just want to finish this.
I want to say one thing. We're going to show the video again at the very end right now in a bit.
Okay, perfect.
10 seconds, because some people came in late or were stuck in the waiting room or looking for their codes. But
okay.
There's one last thing, is that you and Michael are always doing all the thank yous, and we should not have an annual meeting without saying thank you to you for your intense work every single day, to Michael. Though these jobs, being president, that you and Michael are doing are not small jobs. They're not incidental to your lives, and it is not lost on me or anyone else how hard the two of you are working on behalf of the community. So I just wanted to say thank you, and we're going to roll the tape now.
Thank you, Pam. And I want to thank all our speakers tonight, too, for participating, and really for Brianna for putting together that very powerful deck. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Our story begins long before any of us. And our story will continue long after all of us. What will it say? We can't begin to shape our story until we recognize that we are one people. Unless we tear down our dividers and look beyond how we vote, how we love, how much we know, or how much we still have to learn. We are not independent of one another. We are interdependent. We need each other. Together, we transform the lives of so many people. Across town, across oceans, across generations, we transform the lives of people we may not ever meet. People who may not ever know that we exist. This is our story. Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze V'Ze. We are all one people, responsible for one another. Ours is the story of so many. It's the story of our sister who lost everything in the unspeakable. It's the story of our brothers who woke up one morning to a new reality. It's the story of all those who feel alone. We are your home. All those who don't feel safe. For all those who feel they have nowhere to go. For the ones who never thought it would come to this. Their story is our story. We are there. So what will we write from here? That we showed up or that we changed the world? That we sat by the side of the road or that we moved mountains? Will it say that we accepted reality or that we reimagined it? It's up to us. Let's write our story.
Good night, everybody.